Hey everybody, it's CombatX and welcome back to another Magic Arena Tinkerer's Cube draft. So we'll see what we've got here, see what looks best to me today, and start building a deck. So, I mean, there's a Ruin Crab here, and Ruin Crab is a very, very fast milling card. 3 cards a turn, and you get to cast it for only 1 mana. I did just play a mill deck, but Ruin Crab is easily the best mill card, or at least tied for it with Ashiok, which is really impressive. I highly doubt that Fabled Passage would wheel, but if we took Ruin Crab, we would love to wheel the Fabled Passage because it gives you 2 land drops in 1 turn, triggering your landfall ability twice. The best picks here, just like objectively, might just be something like Vraska's Contempt. That keeps you in 1 color and not in a specific strategy. This goes well in any black deck. I guess technically it would be at its absolute best in like black-white life gain because you're removing something and gaining some life to trigger stuff like that, but this is really extremely playable in any black deck whatsoever. So this is probably the most flexible card, so it would be the safest first pick here, and then we'd try to just go with whatever's open. But I kind of want to try Mill again. If Mill ends up being open, we'll see. Ruin Crab is just a really, really scary miller. Here I think I'll take the Crystalline Giant. This is a completely colorless card, so it goes into any strategy, whatever colors we end up in. This is just a really solid card for the mana cost. 3 mana, 3/3 with a random ability added to it every turn, and those can stack up very quickly for it to be a really nice, really powerful threat. I think outside of that, there are quite a few different options to go with. Wizard's Lightning is going to be great in any red deck. Fanatical Firebrand really only for incredibly aggressive red decks like Mono Red or Rakdos Sacrifice would be pretty good in 2. Scavenging Ooze is going to be great in any green deck, and it gives you protection against Reanimator strategies and self-mill strategies like Golgari. Incubation Druid's a fun little ramp card. Of course, Spirit Dancer if you want to try to do the Enchantress thing, but I've had really, really bad luck with that deck in the past, so I just don't love trying to draft that in general at this point. I just feel that enchantments are actually pretty easy to deal with in this cube. If you're in like green or white, there's just like a million random ways to do it. There's like Thrashing Brontodon, there's a 3 mana 2/1 elf. When it comes into play, you destroy an artifact or enchantment. There's Wilt, which is 1 and a green for an instant. So I feel like there's just way too many ways to just shut off the most important cards in the Enchantress decks. So what do we take here? I don't really know. Aerial Responder seems pretty sweet for any white deck, but ideally white-black life gain or just a white-based life gain deck. Flame Spill is a really nice removal, 3 mana at instant speed, 4 damage to something, and you're dealing some damage to the creature's controller if you're destroying a smaller creature with this. Jadelight Ranger is super solid in green. This can potentially draw you 2 cards. If you've had 2 lands sitting on the deck, it just gets those out of the way. And if not, it's kind of like a scry, and it turns into possibly a 4/3 for only 3 mana. There's also Tristani, but that's a 2-colored card there. While it is pretty powerful, it is a pretty committal pick. I think I'm just going to roll with Jadelight Ranger there. And we'll see what we got now. Mantle of the Wolf, I think, is the most powerful green card in here. Maybe just the most powerful card for its mana cost. 4 mana to give +4/+4 to something is really efficient at turning something into a massive threat in the early game, or the somewhat early game. Say we play Jadelight Ranger, even if it explores twice and hits 2 lands and it's only a 2/1, if we play Mantle of the Wolf on that next turn, all of a sudden we are attacking with a 6/5 on turn 4, and that's about the worst that Mantle of the Wolf is going to do in a green deck. Often we'll just have a slightly better creature than a 2/1. Like if this explored twice and hit 2 non-lands, then it would be a 4/3, then Mantle of the Wolf makes it an 8/7. So that's just really great there. Plus the fact that it gives you the extra safety valve in case your opponent does just immediately remove your Mantle of the Wolf creature the second you try to attack with it. This will at least still spit out two 2/2 green wolf tokens, so you can't even really get 2 for 1 by your opponent with them casting 1 removal spell to get rid of like both your Crystalline Giant and your Mantle of the Wolf. Now, at least the Mantle of the Wolf is spitting something out when they try to do that. So I think that's just a really, really solid green card. Now we have Varric's Bladewing is super solid, 4 mana for a 4/4 flyer or 7 mana for 2 4/4 flyers. Compelling argument to go with the Ruin Crab, but green-blue mill is not really a thing. And with Jadelight Ranger and Mantle of the Wolf, I think I'm happier with my green than my blue so far. I think those two combined is a bit better than 1 Ruin Crab, and Compelling Argument's just unplayable if you're not heavily just milling your opponent. I think I'm going to go with the Dawnshredder Elk here, just stick to primarily green here. We could still go green-blue and end up still running the Ruin Crab, just because green can have a lot of cards like the Dawnshredder Elk here that are spitting out additional lands, so you can potentially trigger that landfall? You can potentially trigger that landfall multiple times in a single turn to really speed up the mill on it, so in a way it can sometimes just be your only mill card in your deck and still be somewhat of a win condition in that way. I kind of like the Stormfleet Aerialist best here for if we're going blue-green, but Dragon Master Outcast would be a great option if we end up in red-green. As I said before, green has a lot of ways to spit out additional lands each turn, so that gets us closer to the powerful ability that Dragon Master Outcast has of creating a 5/5 dragon every turn. Doesn't do it till the late game, but if we can spit out lands quickly with stuff like Dawnshredder Elk, we can definitely speed up the dragon production, make Dragon Master Outcast an even quicker game ender. This pack's not very exciting. Honestly, yeah, I don't think anybody who gets this pack is going to be excited, except maybe the Rakdos player. Dreadhorde Butcher is pretty fantastic, but everything else in here is just fine for its strategy, like Leonin Vanguard's okay in white. Revival Revenge, maybe the second most exciting card here, because this can do a lot in white-black life gain. Doubling your life can just go to ridiculous numbers. I think I'm taking Wildwood Scourge over the Yavimaya Sapherd. I mean, we're definitely taking one of the green cards. Wildwood Scourge can combo well with anything that's getting +1/+1 counters, and there's a lot of stuff that gets +1/+1 counters in green in this cube. And we've got a Jadelight Ranger right now that gets +1/+1 counters when it explores if you're hitting a non-land card, and Crystalline Giant can potentially get a single +1/+1 counter. So not a ton to combo with it yet, but I could definitely see us getting more. I'm not really a fan of any of these green cards here. Imperious Perfect is kind of an army in a can. It just keeps spitting out 2/2 Elf Warriors. They're 2/2 as long as Perfect's on the board. They're 1/1 when it dies. Yeah, I mean, there's also Song of Freyalise, make everything tap for a mana of any color, and then you can put a +1/+1 counter on everything. That can combo well with the Scourge. The other options there were definitely the black Reanimator cards. Carrion Grub mills yourself, and then Unbroken Bonds returns something from your grave with Lifelink. So those are both good in green-black Reanimator, and we're pretty heavy into green, so we would easily be able to pivot into that. And with Vraska's Contempt still in this pack, that makes me feel like black is incredibly open here. I feel like that means basically no one took a black card out of this pack. I think we're definitely taking Vraska's Contempt there. It's on par with the Statish Statue, which is the green-black removal spell there, so we might as well just take the mono-colored removal spell. And this one exiles as well and gains 2 life. This is actually just a bit better than Statish Statue. I'm actually going to start just scooping up these random black cards now, I think. I mean, Evolving Wilds is good at triggering landfall for Ruin Crab, but black just was looking really open by the fact that Vraska's Contempt was still in there. So I think we're much more likely to be green-black than green-blue. Yeah, Farrakha's Spawn will be the pick there. Definitely going to take the green card out of this pack over the Gutter Snipe. I think we're taking Kraul Harpooner. 2 mana for a 3/2 reach. This card doesn't need any other text to be incredibly solid. And the other text is quite nice, being able to fight a flying creature when it comes into play. At its best when your opponent has a 1/1 flyer out. There's a couple relevant ones. Your opponent could have Healer's Hawk if they're a white-black life gain deck, just a 1-mana 1/1 lifelink flyer. And your opponent could have, if they're a blue deck, the 1-mana 1/1 blue blue card that's, I don't actually know what I want here. Maybe Electro Dominance? I'm going to take the Hedron Archive because it's kind of ramp. But I don't remember the name of the 1/1 flyer in blue, but there's a 1/1 flyer that for 4 mana you can draw a card off of its ability. Anyways, with that whole aside out of the way, we're into the second pack. Got plenty viable options here. Stomping Ground if we're trying to end up in red-green, but with that really late Vraska's Contempt, Farrakhan Spawn and Foreboding Fruit also were pretty late. I think we can just be Golgari here. I kind of like Drana. 3 mana for a 2/3 flying first strike. When she deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. That combos really well with the Wildwood Scourge, and we could try to do like green-black +1/+1 counters. It doesn't make the most sense. Green-black is at its core Reanimator deck, using cards like Gravebreaker Lamia, but I also think that Gravebreaker Lamia will be more likely to wheel than Drana, so we could end up with both of those here, and if that doesn't wheel, I guess we can take Branching Evolution, but Branching Evolution doesn't do anything unless you have a lot of +1/+1 counter stuff in your deck, so that's much more committal than the Drana. If we take Drana here, we can use it as a solid card in our deck, even if we don't get anything else that has to do with +1/+1 counters. But if we take Branching Evolution, we now have to highly, highly, highly prioritize +1/+1 counter cards in order to get that to work. So I definitely like Drana over the Branching Evolution. And out of that pack, maybe we can wheel the Gravebreaker Lamia. Maybe we can wheel the Branching Evolution. Either of those could be a fine wheel. Ooh. This is a really difficult pack here. So we've got Heliod, which is like the strongest white-black life gain card, or easily one of them. Can't really do that, unfortunately. But in green-black, we've got Blood Artist. Pings our opponent over and over again, drains a lot of life from them. The more creatures are dying, really solid card. Carnifex Demon, a good Reanimator target, and it can wipe the board of any small creatures. And the first Iroan Games, just decent, efficient value in the early game. You get a 1/1, turn it into a 4/4, and then draw a couple cards. Yeah, I think I'm cool with the Iroan Games here, but I am interested in Carnifex Demon. I think we'll have to see if people pivoted into black by the end of the last pack, or maybe people were just really not interested in drafting removal highly. But if I'm reading things right here, I suspect that we'll be wheeling more black cards than green cards, so we might as well take the green cards first if it's a pretty close choice like that was between the first Iroan Games and the Carnifex Demon. This pack, however, is not that exciting. I guess we could take Rashmi and try to splash that in as like a Sultai build. This card basically draws you an additional card every turn at the absolute worst, and at best you're casting something for free every turn. Really nice card. Other than that, it's like Timoret or Voracious Typhon, maybe Blood Juggler. I guess I could take the Typhon here. Pretty much guaranteed to be running the Typhon, so that seems super fine. I like Chainweb Arachneer. It gives us an early blocker against aggressive decks. Usually just a chump blocker, but then we get to escape it later as a 4/5. And the reach is often relevant in green decks. We don't have a ton of ways to deal with flyers, so it is good to be able to block them. None of these black cards are super exciting here, so I think it's just Arachneer. Order of Midnight's okay. Return something from your graveyard to your hand with the Alter Fate ability. But the other half of the card is just not very good. 2 mana for a 2/2 flyer that can't block. That's only really good in maybe Rakdos, because that tends to be really aggressive. In any other black deck, usually that the creature side is not exciting there. And Timoret Calls the Dead is a lot of self-mill off of the first 2 parts of the saga, which is pretty okay, but we're not actually really like self-mill here. We're kind of just Golgari stuff. Golgari +1/+1 counters to a certain extent. I think I'll take Plaguecrafter here over Davriel, but Davriel is nice as well, forcing your opponent to discard up to 3 cards all by himself. I think Plaguecrafter's just more exciting to me. I've got a decent amount of just like little creatures that I'm okay sacrificing. In the right matchup, Plaguecrafter can be quite good. There are a lot of matches where Plaguecrafter does basically nothing though, so I don't even like that card that much. I'm not a big fan of Davriel. We do have Ashiok here. If we were still trying to do mill, we could end up with the Ruin Crab and the Ashiok. I think it's going to be Voracious Hydra though. It's a really big Hydra you can ramp into that doubles as a removal spell by being able to fight something when it comes into play. Super nice card. There are some great black cards in here too though. Woe Strider and Veto, both fantastic. Veto really good black-white. Woe Strider great in Rakdos, but these are both solid in any black deck. Bloodthirsty Aerialist. Ooh. Black is so open that even the black-white life gain cards are still in here pretty late, which I don't expect that very often. I feel like black-white life gain's one of the most popular strategies. I feel like I run into that deck a whole lot. It is quite powerful, though. I mean, we don't have a lot of life gain in here. We've got the Foreboding Fruit could potentially give us a food token. Vraska's Contempt gains life, but that's like it. We're definitely not taking Charming Prince. I mean, I guess Vastwood Fortification, but that's not very exciting. We just get to run that instead of a forest. It will slow us down sometimes, having to play a tapped land instead of a forest, but it's generally worth the value of... Now, sometimes when we would top deck a forest in the late game, instead we're top decking like a +1/+1 counter. That might matter. It rarely will, so it's one of the least exciting flip cards that is a land and something else, but we'll see. Not a huge fan of Woodland Champion. I don't have a ton of tokens in here, so I think I'm just taking Skyclave Shade. Can get +1/+1 counters on it for the... where is it? The Wildwood Scourge, and it works with a little bit of self-mill stuff, more for an aggressive deck, but I guess we're kind of an aggressive Golgari deck here. This is a weird one. I have drafted Golgari a lot, but I've pretty much always stuck to the Golgari Reanimator plan, and this is kind of just Golgari stuff. I guess I'd like to take Blood Artist over Nessian Wanderer. Oh my god, but Heliod is still in here. That makes me really sad. I feel like I picked the wrong lane if Heliod is in here. Pick 10. Path of Bravery and Griffin Airy. No one is in white-black life gain. I'm confident in saying that at this point. Basilica Bell Haunted Silver Smoke Ghoul. If the person on our right is actually in white-black life gain and they're playing the long game and just getting rewarded incredibly hard here, then more power to them, because Jesus, you know, every pack is just a really solid white-black life gain payoff. I mean, I can't play any of these cards anyway, so I guess we'll take the best one that we can't play. Last pick, Bloodthirsty Aerialist. This is a reverse world draft here, where the most commonly drafted, most popular strategy, in my opinion, is in this draft the least drafted strategy. This is strange. This is all kinds of strange all around. Maulfist Revolutionary is really nice with our kind of +1/+1 counter sub theme. Buffs everything up once when it comes into play and once when it dies. Everything that has a +1/+1 counter, that is. Witch's Vengeance. It's just nice interactive removal. Gemrazor is really nice. I like Gemrazor better than Brontodon for a main deckable way to get rid of artifacts and enchantments. But they're both very nice. And I don't think I'm taking Battlement. I just don't have that much stuff to ramp into. So Maulfist, Witch's Vengeance, Gemrazor. I guess I'll start with Gemrazor here. Gemrazor is just the coolest looking card. It's a really nice alternate style. Let's make a nice little beauty choice there. Sir Conrad's probably the strongest card here, but we are taking Sir Conrad over 3 different pieces of removal. We could use any one of these, and we would like to have access to a lot of removal. Maybe Sir Conrad Wheels. Black has been pretty open, but I suppose it's mainly just black-white life gain specifically that's very open. for taking one of these removal spells, Cartouche of Strength is just a cheaper Hunt the Weak. And Deadweight is the cheapest removal spell, but it only kills things with 2 or less toughness. Unless you're like throwing a Deadweight onto something after combat, after it's already been dealt some damage. I don't know, I'm going to take Sir Conrad. I'm not feeling that bold on my reads in this draft. I'm not that confident that I can wheel a Sir Conrad here. I like Fauna Shaman, discarding any just mediocre creatures to grab whatever the best creature at the time is. If we're playing against an artifact or enchantment, we can pick up Gem Razor. If we're playing against a mill deck, we can pick up Sir Conrad. Like, we've got some cards that are kind of situational that would be nice to pick up with Fauna Shaman. Plague Crafter as well. If our opponent only has like 1 creature on their board and it's really good, we can Fauna Shaman for Plague Crafter. I like that quite a bit. Sifter Worm's really nice in these Golgari decks when you have like reanimation spells, but we just don't. We're just green-black stuff and not green-black reanimators, so Sifter Worm we'd always be playing on 7, which it's still good there, especially if you've got a lot of ramp. But even that we don't have a ton of. We've just got Hedron Archive and Dawntraitor Oak, and I'm at this point with how my curve is going, I'm highly considering just cutting the Hedron Archive because it only ramps into anything that's higher than 4 mana, and we don't have a lot there. There's only 2 cards right now, so I don't really like Momentous Fall. Ideally, you're casting this in response to a removal spell from your opponent, like when your biggest creature is going to die anyway, then you turn it into a bunch of cards and life, but it just hasn't been that exciting to me anytime. I guess I like the Black Bloom Rogue. Again, the little target player sacrifices creature effects, they're often just hitting tokens. There's tons of tokens in this format, or you're playing against like an aggressive deck that just has extra little 1/1s and stuff. So I haven't found a ton of success with the sacrifice effect, and I already have a Plague Crafter, so I'm not really taking Chainer's Edict there over the card I can replace a Swamp with, which is a pretty nice card. So we've got Doomed Necromancer, Erebos. Nothing super exciting here. I guess we're taking Erebos because we've got a lot of creatures, so we can get a lot of value off of the paying 2 life, drawing additional cards when our creatures are dying. We've got some double black cards as well. Sir Conrad, Bloodthirsty Aerialist, and Drana, those all give Erebos 2 devotion. So we could potentially actually be attacking with an Erebos sometimes, which is always nice. I like Lord of Extinction more than the Oathsworn Knight. Oathsworn Knight's a weird one. I guess it's really good if you can throw an aura or an equipment on it, because every time that it would be... Oh no, never mind. They actually fixed the wording on it. Well, I actually don't like Oathsworn Knight at all then. It has to attack each turn if able, that is the biggest drawback on that card. If that thing could just block at any time, that'd be pretty solid. But the whole +1/+1 counters thing is not really that great. I guess we have like our Wildwood Scourge that cares about +1/+1 counters, but yeah, the coming out as a 4/4 and then just reducing by 1 every time it's dealt damage, no matter how much damage, it's just not that impressive, I find, in general, especially when it has to attack every turn of Fable. You just can't stop, can't hold back. So the way that the old cards that were worded that way worked were, they just said, if it would be dealt damage, instead remove a +1/+1 counter from it. So the way that they used to work is you could put Mantle of the Wolf on one of them to give it +4/+4, and if it had 3 +1/+1 counters on them, it takes damage, you remove 1, now it has 2. Once it gets to the point where it has 0 +1/+1 counters on it, it still has the ability, whenever it's dealt damage, remove a +1/+1 counter instead. Even if it doesn't have a +1/+1 counter on it, it just gets dealt no damage. So you used to be able to just throw Mantle of the Wolf or any aura onto one of those cards, and then they would just be undefeatable by damage. It would just be a 4/4 on the board forever instead of a 0/0 that's died because it has no counters on it. But they actually changed the way that it works for Oathsworn Knight specifically, so it just couldn't do that, which is, I don't know, that's kind of boring to me. Actually, I think Falconwrath Noble might be pretty good here. Because, like, Oathsworn Knight's like the only card I can think of that's come out recently that has that effect, and It would be kind of cool. It's a rare. It'd be cool to be able to do that combo. Like, that's not going to break standard. You can just throw a removal spell at it. You just can't kill it by damage. You can exile it. You can destroy target creature it. That was a pretty cool thing you used to be able to do, though. So let's see. 9, 15, 16. I accidentally cut a forest already. I want 17 lands here, probably. Actually, no, I have 2 flip lands, so that's fine. I accidentally cut a land, but it's okay. So here's a couple lands. So we basically got 10 black sources, 8 green sources. We'll think about that later after we've cut 12 more cards. Sort out our creatures. Start cutting the weakest stuff. Plagued Rizalka is really not for our strategy, I feel. But I did end up with Blood Artist and Falconwrath Noble. So maybe we're Golgari Sacrifice. This is a weird one. I think I'm definitely not running Hedron Archive. It just ramps into my 5 drops, of which I don't have a ton. Blade Juggler, I want to play at 3, if I am playing it at all. So how many lands do I have right now if I include those 2? 16, 17, 18, if I'm counting those as lands. I'm going to cut 1 more land. Okay, so 10 more non-land cards to cut. Piper's a bit slow, but we've got like Blood Artist, Falconwrath Noble, Erebos. We've got a lot of ways to sacrifice those little rats, even if we don't get all 3 of them. So I kind of like that. I think Fauna Shaman's pretty nice with just our deck in general, being able to grab whatever we're looking for at the time. We also have Imperious Perfect making 1/1 tokens to sacrifice to stuff, so maybe I am keeping Plagued Rizalka. I think I am going to cut Plague Crafter, definitely cutting Silver Smoke Ghoul, maybe the Aerialist. 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer is basically all it does in our deck. It's not that exciting. Farrakha's spawn is quite slow. Can do some stuff. How big does it come back as? It comes back as a 5/6. Comes back as a 5/6, makes our opponent sacrifice 1 creature. Voracious Typhon comes back as a 7/7. Doesn't make them sack anything. I guess the spawn is cheaper to bring back too. Yeah, maybe we're cutting the Typhon before we cut the spawn. 6 more cards to cut. Does Gravebreaker Lamia even do anything in this deck? That is a viable question. We're getting Skyclave Shade, or Chainweb Arachneer, or Farrakha's Spawn. That's probably enough to justify the Lamia at the top end of our curve. With our other 5 drops. I have to cut 6 more cards, though. What do I have for removal? I have Vraska's Contempt, Lich's Caress, Witch's Vengeance, and Titanic Brawl. I kind of want to just leave all of that in there. That all seems super solid. Okay, let's just start taking out stuff. I was gonna say like the least synergistic stuff, I guess. But our deck is already not really going for synergy. It's kind of just decent stuff. So that's usually what I do in Tinkerer's Cube. It's kind of hard when you get to the cuts. So the easiest way to do it in general is just take out the stuff that doesn't do as much with your strategy as it would with other strategies. So like Blade Juggler is just kind of a nonsense card. But our whole deck is just nonsense, really, this time around. We don't have a really clear, really strict strategy. I guess Dawn Treader Elk, I'm not really needing a lot of ramp. I'm going to cut Plagued Rizalka. Even with all these token productions, just -1/-1 is not that exciting. And I've got Erebos as like a better sack outlet, -2/-1. More importantly, Erebos is drawing cards every time you do that. Maybe I'm taking out the Piper. It just does feel pretty slow. You know, I could definitely take out the Lamia. Keep our curve kind of low. Wildwood Scourge not having any evasion or trample or anything makes it definitely a lot less exciting than it would otherwise, but I think it's still okay. Maybe we don't have a ton working with it, so it's kind of just an X mana XX. Yeah, I'll cut that. One final cut before we're off the ground running here. 8, 9, 15, 16, 17. With these as our non-basics. I'm not cutting a land then. Maybe Foreboding Fruit? Do I have any card draw without it? I've got Explore. And then I have Erebos, but not really. I kind of want to leave the fruit in. I guess Iroan Games can draw 2 cards as well. Got an okay amount of card draw. I'm thinking I want to cut Piper because it's just generally so slow, but if there was ever a deck where I didn't want to cut Piper, this would be as close as I've gotten so far. With an Erebos in the deck, with Drana in the deck to put a counter on all of our attackers. We want as many attackers as possible. Get some little rats in there too. I don't know here, honestly. Let's round things out with a final cut of Verika Spawn? Now that I've cut the Gravebreaker Lamia? I can deal with that. I can manage that. Alright, let's get the Parallax Styles off, get our beautiful, wonderful God Pharaoh, Bolas, basic lands, and then get into some gameplay. I need to check how our colors are doing. We've got 13 black symbols, 12 green symbols. Right now there's 9 black sources and 6, 7, 8 green. Yeah, I've got double blacks at 3 mana. A lot of double blacks. That seems right. Seems like the correct number of lands here. So 8 swamps and 6 forests. And we have ourselves a Tinker's Cube deck. I would be really interested in seeing what the table was drafting there. Because we didn't see, after the first pack, in the first pack we definitely saw Carrion Grub and we saw Unbroken Bonds, but we actually didn't see Back for More or the 2 mana 2/1 Menace Lifelink that a kicker of 4 mana lets you return another creature from your grave to the battlefield. We didn't see that either, so we weren't really seeing the Golgari Reanimator stuff too much in the later packs. We were just seeing Golgari cards, green and black cards for other strategies that were relatively open. When my opponent plays a Triome into a Mind Stone, I kind of want to just get as aggressive as possible. So I'm going to play a 3/2 turn 2, and then I'm going to play Drana to start putting +1/+1 counters on our whole field. Try to just really bash our opponent, and then Mantle of the Wolf on turn 4, probably. I think this is some kind of heavily multicolored deck that we might just want to try to outrace. With a Nicol Bolas from our opponent, we're going to have a bad time. I would love to be able to fight that Bolas with a Voracious Hydra, but I won't be able to do that until I hit 6 mana, and I don't think I'll hit 6 mana by the time they hit 7. Which is embarrassing. But I feel like this Bolas is going to flip on me. I'm going to discard this land because I just don't feel like... The only way Hydra's going to help me here is if I can hit 6 mana before they hit 7 mana. And I highly, highly doubt that I'll be able to do that. So I'm just going to play Drana and pass. I have enough power in terms of blockers to double block Bolas and kill it potentially. If they send in the attack, it would be suspicious. They could have an instant speed removal spell to really hose me, but I think I would still do the double block if they did. I mean, if they attack now, I'm definitely going to do it. With only 1 mana up, I don't see what they could possibly have. They did not send in the attack, though. So here I can play a Mantle of the Wolf to be able to still get aggressive. Yeah, I guess I could try to outrace the Bolas. Let's throw a Mantle of the Wolf on Drana. I get to attack with both. If they block Drana, Bolas dies to Drana. And if they block the Crawl Harpooner, Drana deals 6 first strike damage to them. And because I did first strike damage, I'm putting a +1/+1 counter on the Harpooner. So the Harpooner will be a 4/3 by the time it damages Bolas. So we're going to kill Bolas anyway. So that's why that attack is really good there. So they might not even have noticed that they would be trading Bolas with Harpooner. But depending on what's in their hand, they may have. Maybe they don't have any more mana, so they're just like, well, I just need to slow them down as best as I can. I don't have my second green for Voracious Hydra, so I think I'll discard that and the Skyclave Shade. If I hit a land, I get to cast Skyclave Shade from our grave with its landfall effect. Witch's Vengeance, I could use that on servos at some point. Don't need to with Drana, since Drana's flying. Could just nuke the Saheeli, but they're dead in 2 swings from Drana, so I'm going to hit their face so that they have to get a removal spell or something that can block flyers this turn. Puts them dead in 2 turns. Even if they kill Drana, we're not in that bad of a position here. Since Mantle of the Wolf will spit out 2 2/2 wolves, we get to start just attacking with 3 2/2s every turn, and they're down to 7, so that can be very aggressive. Enter the God Eternals it is. That does 4 damage to something, so way too few damage to be able to kill Drana. Ooh, Blood Artist? Can we make lethal here with Witch's Vengeance? We don't have the mana to play both of these. If we did, we could kill both their servos with Witch's Vengeance and drain them for 2 more life. Still wouldn't quite be lethal, it'd be 1 damage off. Alright, I think we hit him with Drana and then play the Blood Artist. Now, even if they get rid of Drana, Blood Artist is very likely to just kill them. So Mythos of Eluna copies our Drana so that they can block Drana.
Do I have your attention now?
Alright, let's drain a life. I don't know what happened. Oh, they used Saheeli to have one of their servos become a copy of their 4/4 zombie army until end of turn, but their zombie army is actually a 0/0 with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, so they actually just turned their 1/1 servo into a 0/0, unfortunately. So it died and then Blood Artist triggered to drain a life, is what happened there. So I could choose Vampire here so that I can get in, but I'm just going to choose Servo so I can drain him for 2, because that's just mildly cooler. Thank you, Blood Artist. Very cool. So there goes game 1. We got a win with this Golgari pile. I don't even know what to call it, to be honest, but I don't name my decks anyway, so it's all good. A lot of drafters always come up with like really clever names for all of their decks, even their piles like this that don't have a specific, obvious, synergistic name that I could think of. I am just not that creative. Okay, heading into round 2. Pretty awkward hand. Would have loved to pick up some dual lands, but we also just didn't see like a single green-black dual. At least not in the later packs, once we were in green-black. I go first, and I have Crawl Harpooner into Mantle of the Wolf potentially. I only need 1 black mana to be able to play Blood Artist, and Erebos needs a black mana and 1 more mana of something, because I'd only have 3 mana if I draw a Swamp here. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to get all bold again and start keeping the risky hands today. That's just how I feel. I really like turn 2 3-2, and then turn 4 make it a 7-6. If I can get there. Alright, not a great start. Well, if I hit a swamp, that's actually fantastic. So we don't know for sure yet whether we're drawing well or not. If I draw a swamp next turn, then yes, we are drawing fantastic. Ooh, never didn't have it. I could play Blood Artist as well. If they're putting Lampad out, they're probably going to be sacrificing a lot of stuff, so Blood Artist will be draining them a lot. Or they'll probably just have a lot of small creatures in general. I think I'm still going to Foreboding Fruit. Foreboding Fruit basically makes it so I know for sure that I get to cast Mantle of the Wolf next turn, because I've got 3 draws to hit a land, because I'm drawing 2 right there, and then another on my next turn. I did just hit a land off of the initial draw too, so that is nice. It's also a swamp, so I can cast pretty much everything in my deck now that I have double black. So, real solid draw. Should start really getting in there with Crawl Harpooner. If they had a Heartless Act, that would have been very bad for me, so that was something to consider. They could have that 1 and a black for an instant, destroy a creature with no counters on it. But if they have a removal spell on their turn, that's not that bad for me, because I'm spitting out the 2 wolves. They will be gaining life, though, if I am spitting out wolves, thanks to Soul Warden gaining life when anyone plays a creature, not just them. So they are black-white life gain, it looks like. I think I want to play Drana here, because if they ever kill Crawl Harpooner, throwing a counter onto all my wolves will be nice. Just going wide here in general. I like playing Titanic Brawl as well, but they've got that 2 mana up. If they destroy Crawl Harpooner in response, that would be pretty sad. I may even want to kill the Soul Warden instead of the Pridemate. I don't actually know. I'm going to go for the Titanic Brawl. I'm going to kill the Pridemate. If I kill the Soul Warden, Pridemate would be very close to enough power to kill Crawl Harpooner. Because if I kill Soul Warden, they respond by sacrificing it to the Lampad, and then the Johnny's Pridemate will be a 4/4. Harpooner only has 6 toughness, so they'd only have to gain life 2 more times to get the Pridemate big enough to trade with Harpooner. So I like getting the Pridemate out of the way. It is going to be annoying. They're going to die a lot slower with a Soul Warden on the board, but oh well. We can play the long game here. We've got a bit of reach with Blood Artist and Erebos. Not the ability reach, just reach to get over our opponent's creatures in a long game. Ways to deal damage to them even if they have a million blockers. Somehow. If they, like, stabilize. That is not a stabilization from our opponent, that is a concession. So 2 wins, 4 Golgari stuffs. I don't know, I'll take it. Again, not a lot to say about Golgari stuffs. It's just stuffs. I guess one thing I could definitely say is that Mantle of the Wolf has absolutely been performing about as well as I thought it would, in terms of my evaluation of that card during the drafting of this deck, where I was like, yeah, Mantle of the Wolf is kind of just insane for anything. Just curving into that, being able to play that on turn 4 puts so much pressure on your opponent in any game on pretty much any creature. That is a very high pick. All right. I'll keep it. I'm pretty far off from all these cards, but Skyclave Shade's nice. Turn 2, get a 3-1 out there, and then plop out a Blood Artist to support it, I suppose. That way we can start trading it off with their blockers, and every time we do that, we're still draining them life. We're going to Landfall to bring it back over and over again throughout the game. Alright, well, I kind of like Crawl Harpooner instead of Blood Artist here, if they just don't have any creatures on the board yet. Again, just get the highest power creatures out. 2 mana, 3 power creatures, dot deck. For those who don't know, the dot deck joke, on Magic Online, all of your decks would be saved as the file type .dek. I kind of forget that I'm a bit of a Magic the Gathering boomer at this point, since I've been playing since well before Magic Arena came out, so I forget that you might not get all the references. So I sent in that attack before playing Blood Artist, because if they did not take a block and trade there, I would want to play Falconwrath Noble instead. But there's certainly an argument for having just played Blood Artist, because then they are very likely to not block, but they're already trying to put 3 counters on one of their creatures next turn, so in order for that second part of the saga to do something, they can't really trade off the 1/1 soldier there. Cartouche Strength is pretty bad for us, but if we hit 1 more mana, we can Lich's Caress, their only blocker, and hit him for 6, which is pretty fantastic, and we did hit the land. We've got very lucky on the draws this game, and pretty much just rewarded us with the win. Now that our opponents are at 2 life, there's almost nothing they could have to survive here when we've got a Blood Artist in hand, even if they can deal with these creatures. Just put a Blood Artist on the board and then Landfall a Shade back eventually. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. Really, really solid draws there. Hitting all of the lands we needed to curve out efficiently. We also drew into the second 2-power attacker, or the second 3-power attacker. So we didn't even have that aggressive of a start without our draws being as good as they were. That was just a very lucky game in general. Really good stuff. So we're at 3 wins now, no losses. I've got Skyclave Shade and Crawl Harpooner, and we're on the play, so I think we just get off to another aggressive start. I like playing the Skyclave Shade first. I suppose it depends on what they play on turn 1. If they play a 1/1 flyer, we're going to play Crawl Harpooner. But generally, I think we play Skyclave Shade first, because they can't block it well. If we trade with something, we're just recasting it from the grave for free value. And we might even play Imperious Perfect next turn. Probably not. I could have went like Fauna Shaman into Imperious Perfect to be attacking with a 3/3 instead. Yeah, that could be cool, because we're giving all of our elves +1/+1, and Fauna Shaman is an elf. Just send in before I do anything else. That way if Skyclave Shade dies somehow, we could just Landfall play it again. So I have to make a decision here. If I play Imperious Perfect, I could play both Crawl Harpooner and Fauna Shaman next turn. That would be my most aggressive use of my mana. But I'm getting the most damage out by playing a 3/2 right now. Then I get 6 damage in next turn. I kind of like just playing the Imperious Perfect. I think next turn playing a Harpooner and a Fauna Shaman could be nice. And we can play Falconwrath Noble as well. If they just play like 2 blockers here, I think Falconwrath Noble would be better. If they play no blockers, we're definitely just dumping down 2 creatures. Like if they just cast a removal spell. Yeah, Banefire on Imperious Perfect. Sure. Alright. Just get some stuff on this board. It's pretty weird to be in the aggro seat against Mardu, red, white, black over here. But I suppose that's what happens when you're on the play. Being on the play or the draw is actually a pretty big factor into how games go a lot of the time. I could search for something with Fauna Shaman, something that costs 4 or less. I could get Gemrazor, Erebos. Erebos wouldn't be active. Gemrazor would be good. I honestly think I just want to cast a Falconwrath Noble here, though. I'm going to do it pre-combat in case they want to try to burn something when I attack in with it. We will still drain a life from them. So yeah, I don't think we have anything in our deck that's like that much better than Falconwrath Noble. In this position, I think Falconwrath Noble is just about as good as we can get from our creatures. Mire Triton. I'll throw out a little Death Toucher. That's rude. Well, Jadelight Ranger, not a bad draw, but we can turn that into anything in our deck with Fauna Shaman. I could pick up a Lord of Extinction or a Sir Conrad, but I can't cast either of those immediately. Kind of like Jadelight Ranger with Skyclave Shade to hit more lands. We could hit Drana, Liberator of Malakir. She would be really good, and she's flying. That might be the choice. We've also got Crystalline Giant, Voracious Hydra, Blood Artist. We just double up Blood Artist and Falconwrath Noble. I think I want to pick up Drana post-combat. And first I want to send in Skyclave Shade. Because if they know that if I have a land, I'm just getting the Skyclave Shade back. So maybe we don't trade here. And if we do trade, it's not bad. I get the Death Touch out of the way. Alright, snuck in 3 damage. Very nice. Let's grab Drana. Get a big old flying threat. The Dragon Master Outcast is scary, but it doesn't make a dragon token next turn. They still are 1 land away from that, so we don't need to Titanic Brawl it just yet. But I do believe that that is what Titanic Brawl will be fighting. I think we'll be killing their Dragon Master Outcast this turn. Erebos' Intervention to kill Drana. Well, that's annoying. A sad day for Drana. But we're doing pretty fine here. We get to kill Dragon Master Outcast, and they really just don't have anything going on. Chainweb Arachnir does not do anything here, so I guess we're going to Fauna Shaman that away. You know, Fauna Shaman for Voracious Hydra is actually really nice, because then we get to hold on to Titanic Brawl. I don't have enough green mana to pay the green for Fauna Shaman and then grab Voracious Hydra and Titanic Brawl, because the Hydra costs double green. But I still like that, having Titanic Brawl still, and getting rid of the Dragon Master Outcast. And this is just like how powerful Fauna Shaman is. This game is 100% a Fauna Shaman game. I suppose it didn't really matter here because we had Titanic Brawl in our hand anyway, but imagining a game where we didn't have Titanic Brawl, Fauna Shaman straight up would have just won us the game that turn by being able to grab Voracious Hydra. Because if this was a game where we didn't have any removal, the only way to get one was to cycle via our Fauna Shaman. We would just be absolutely in love with that card. As it stands, I'm very close to absolutely in love with this card. I'm very close, but not quite there, because we technically didn't need it. We had Titanic Brawl. But no, that card is just bonkers. Really, really good card. It's definitely helpful. Ooh, Lord of Extinction? Let's go. I guess we're just hitting with our flyer. Plop out a 13/13 though. Woo! Let's set in Voracious Hydra. I mean, I guess they block with Simulacrum. They're at 5 life. We're setting it with Fauna Shaman as well. Because of Falconwrath Noble, we just kill them if they block Voracious Hydra with their Death Toucher. Yeah, because we trample over for 1 and then 4 creatures die here. We kill them like twice over. So yeah, they actually just die. Because Falconwrath Noble's ability is quite good. So I don't think they had a way to block and survive there. I think that was just lethal. I didn't need to play the Lord of Extinction, but I didn't realize that, so I guess we have a 17/17 just chilling. Alright, 4 wins and no losses. You know, sometimes, even in the cube that is designed to be drafted strictly in archetypes, in very synergistic, nonsensical ways, you can just draft good stuff on deck and do fine. Just got a lot of removal. Well, got a decent amount of removal. A decent amount of powerful creatures at their respective mana costs, like the 2 mana 3 ones, the 2 mana 3 2s, have been putting in a ton of work. And then Fauna Shaman did a lot. Voracious Hydra as well. Been doing great stuff. Generally just a pile of quite nice cards. We're 1 win away from getting our 4,000 gold back from this Tinkerer's Cube draft, so that is what I would love to hit. See if we can make it there. I'm just going to draw the same hand every game. But it's apparently an unbeatable hand because we haven't lost yet. Just Skyclave Shade, Crawl, Harpooner, let's go. Opponent goes first this time, though. That is, it's actually big. It's actually a big deal if they're also an aggressive deck. Because then I have to use these cards on the defensive instead. And Skyclave Shade is quite bad on the defensive, seeing as it just does not block. Alright, opponent, what do you got? I know I have a water somewhere. I found it. Opponent has a swamp. And a plains, alright. Black-white life gain, let's go. Maybe just black-white good stuff, starting with Caligo Skin Witch. I like playing the Skyclave Shade into that. That's not going to start attacking us and getting aggressive. Let's just send in the Shade. Maybe we can trade off the Shade with some stuff and basically not even lose a creature, since we're just getting it right back. No blocks. Kind of like Imperious Perfect here over the Harpooner, because again, next turn I could double spell next turn if I do that. Be pretty nice. The Castle Garenbrig, I don't even remember when I took this in a draft. This must have been a really late pick, but that actually is really solid with Voracious Hydra. Gives us an extra mana into that. Alright, let's... I think I'm attacking with everybody here because I'm planning on double spelling. So we're not dumping out a token, because all my mana is going to be used for other stuff. Maybe, yeah, I was going to say, maybe we sneak in some extra damage. Maybe they think it's a suspicious attack and they don't want to block with the 1/3. And that's what happened. So now we get to drop Crawl Harpooner and Blood Artist. And they're down to 12. And we've got a very impressive field here. And we get to deal with whatever their first good blocker ends up being. I mean, there's definitely an argument, if they just use a removal spell here, there's an argument for just dumping this out with double +1 counters. Ooh, that's rough. At least Blood Artist is draining them some life, but losing the Harpooner and the Perfect is very sad. So they're at 10 life. Put him down to 7 by attacking with Shade this turn. Voracious Hydra, I get to spend... I can spend 4 into the Garenbrig, and the Garenbrig gives me 6 mana, so I can play this with X equals 4. So I get to make an 8/9 trample or a 4/5 trample and kill the Skin Witch. If they're at like 7, I probably just want the 4/5 trample and get the Skin Witch out of the way. Foreboding Fruit. Maybe I just want to draw cards here. Maybe I don't even need the Hydra out. Hydra does just like make them dead next turn. Because I play 4/5 Hydra out, drain them a life by killing the Skin Witch. So they go down to 9. They take 3 from Shade, they're down to 6, and I have 4, 5, 6, 7 power out. Alternatively, I just play this as an 8/9, and that is just slap the face. They need a removal spell. You know, that's kind of funnier. I think I'm going to do that. Land pre-combat too, so they know I'm not recasting Shade here. The actual strategies. Actually wanted to trade there. No, that was that was unintentional though. I should have just held on to the land and sent in. I probably sneak in the 3 damage instead. But now they're at 8 life against an 8/9. So I can make it look intentional. My opponent's like, oh no. That was the plan all along. Convince me to trade. It's all good. I will play my Skyclave Shade this turn. I guess they're gaining life, but I am trampling over for 5. Trample over for 5, they gain 2, so they take 3 there, but then with Blood Artist, they're taking 2 more. Yeah, definitely still sending in. Getting a lot of damage in here, and then we're playing our Skyclave Shade again. Could also Foreboding Fruit myself. And I can actually get the food token, which is cute, but we're definitely keeping the pressure on. Get that 5/3 Shade out here. This card's really good. Like, not only do you get to replay it as a 3/1, if you get to the kicker cost, you get to start replaying it as a 5/3 every time you landfall, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So I win, right? I can Foreboding Fruit them, have them... Yeah. Alright. I get to Foreboding Fruit my opponent for lethal. We're going to do 2 damage to them off of Blood Artist triggers, put them down to 1 life, and then we're going to have target player draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. That will be them. They will lose 2 life and go to -1. That's always really cute when the Foreboding Fruit's ability to target your opponent comes into play. Super cute. And it actually, no, Foreboding Fruit was incredible that game, because we don't know what they Gontied, and we've got some really solid cards in our deck. If they Gontied like a Vraska's Contempt, then that could have been really bad for us if our hand was still just lands, because then they trade off with our Skyclave Shade, we replay it, but then they get to Vraska's Shade it, or they Vraska's Shade our Blood Artist at that point, gaining some life. Alright. Hand seems pretty solid. I get to curve Fauna Shaman into Imperious Perfect, and you don't often get to buff up other elves with Imperious Perfect in this cube. It's mainly just buffing up the elf tokens that it makes. But we can do the super cute thing and have her actually help her friend, the Fauna Shaman, out. Yeah, let's just go for it. I don't have another swamp to play Drana anyway. There's definitely an argument for playing Drana if I did, but since I don't, we get to just pretend we're Elf Tribal. Let's go. Renata called to the hunt. Well, I would love another Black Source now to be able to kill that. That Demigod? Witch's Vengeance on Demigods? Ooh, that is scary. I can Fauna Shaman to discard Drana or Erebos. Search for something to kill Renata with. Ooh, Gemrazor? Yeah, that's actually sick. That's actually sick. Yeah, let's do that for sure. I kind of want to get rid of Erebos here. Even though I can actually cast Erebos in the near future. Andromeda just seems way better if I can hit the black. Alright, Gemrazor, where are you? Yeah, this is gonna be sick. Gemrazor is mildly awkward with both of my creatures having a really good tap ability. Fauna Shaman tapping to discard creatures to search for any other one, and then Gemrazor tapping to create 1/1 Elf Warriors. So it's awkward that I don't get to just throw it on a creature that I'm never wanting to use its ability anyway, but I think I'm still just making the aggressive plays here. Fateful End on our Fauna Shaman. No! Our opponent realized that this card is actually just bonkers insane, and that makes me sad. I was hoping that they would just never touch it. That makes me super sad, because my backup plan, if I just didn't draw the Swamp to Drana, is I just discard Drana for something else I can cast. I could just discard both Drana and Erebos. Well, I guess the first Iroan games it is. I could Titanic Brawl here, but there's not a point in doing that. I'm definitely attacking. They only have a 3-2. But whenever their field gets too big and Gemrazor can't get in well, I can start tapping it for elf tokens. It's pretty cute. Mutate cards are really weird in that, well, there goes the Iroan games. They have the downside of not being able to mutate onto humans, but like any humanoids that aren't technically humans can still get mutated, so like my elf has just turned into this giant freaky beast. I think I have to just fight Rada. That's an elf warrior, that's an elf shaman, that's an insect warrior, and that's an elf druid. So if I had a swamp here, I could like Witch's Vengeance on warriors, which would be fantastic. So Gemrazor's just a beast, even though it has all the elf abilities, right? So even on elves would be okay. Hit Rex Sage and Incubation Druid. I guess I can Gemrazor fight at instant speed. What could they double block with here? They could double block with Harpoon and Rex Sage. I guess I kill all of their creatures if they double block that way, because I can fight at instant speed with Titanic Brawl and get rid of Rada. Oh, they're actually okay. Well, I am still gonna kill all their creatures then. And do I have a Skyclave Shade Engrave? No. This is the one time I don't have a Skyclave Shade Engrave. Sad. I think I still play the land. I guess I really just need a swamp, so maybe I hold on to the forest in case I do draw a Skyclave Shade later. Sir Conrad. Uh-oh. Not having dual lands is just going to destroy me this game. That being said, though, as I said before, we never had the option to draft the dual land, I'm fairly certain. At least by the time that we were Golgari. Alright, well, opponent's got the clock on against us. Sir Conrad can really kill my opponent like immediately though, so if we hit a swamp anytime soon, I'm pretty sure we just win. I guess, Evolution Sage is horrifying though. That is a big, big, big threat. With Incubation Druid plus Horn Beetle, getting a counter every turn. No, you did not just top deck the removal with no cards in hand. That is so sad. I cry every time. Goodbye, Sir Conrad. Well, this is not good at all. If I don't block, I die, so we gotta block 5 damage here. I can put a Blood Artist on this board, but then I just die. I can kill Evolution Sage, but then I just die. I can Trump block with Drana, but then I just die. That is game. Well, I have to say, if there was one big turning point in that game, or one big possible mistake there, it was definitely discarding Erebos instead of Drana. I think I was relying too hard on the contingency plan of just being able to discard Drana anyway, and I wasn't considering drawing out a removal spell on the Fauna Shaman there. But I definitely should have considered that as a possible outcome of that game. But yeah, definitely the mana issues there. got us bad. But part of that was self-imposed by keeping Drana, whom we could not cast. So we're at 5 wins and 1 loss, right? I think. Doing very solid, whatever happens at this point. It's been a super solid run. Well, if I hit any land, I'm dumping out Crystalline Giant. This is a really terrifying start if I hit any land. And my opponent's on the play. That means I get 3 draw steps before turn 3. Yeah. I get 3 more draws before I need to draw land. Here's draw number 1. And it is not a land. Draw number 2. Each of these draws is like a 40% chance of hitting a land. So not hitting 3 in a row would be pretty bad. We did hit the land, so now we're all good, pretty much. Can cast most of our stuff. Everything but Falconwrath Noble and Lich's Caress. Uh-oh. Setessan Champion has hit the board. This is a prime target for removal if you have removal that can hit it. Because if you don't get rid of this, the enchantment decks can go off and just draw so many cards so quickly. We don't have any removal that can hit that yet, so we're just going to play Crystalline Giants, Mechagodzilla, and I suppose if the champion doesn't get any bigger, we can kill it with Titanic Brawl. But that requires both the champion not getting bigger and the Mechagodzilla not dying. And unfortunately, there's a Knight of Autumn, which will destroy our artifact creature. Alright. I can play a Voracious Hydra as a 2/3 and fight the Woodland Champion or the Knight of Autumn. It's probably our best defensive play here. A 2/3 blocker holds down the fort as well. None of their creatures can attack into that until they play an enchantment. Until they play 2 enchantments, really. Even after 1 enchantment, that's just a 2/4. Yeah, I like the Voracious Hydra here. Really solid defensive line. We're killing the Woodland Champion instead of the Knight of Autumn, because Knight of Autumn only does something when it enters the battlefield. The Woodland Champion could be getting more value if they start playing creature tokens. Any tokens, technically, but in this cube it's primarily creature tokens, not a lot of treasure or other tokens like that. And there's the Omen of the Sun. Spits out 2 tokens, so really glad I killed the Woodland Champion. But Setessan Champion is going to start going off a little bit here. Alright. We've done really well on the draws again. Now we've drawn the mana to be able to Lich's Caress the Setessan Champion. Keep them from drawing cards every time they play an enchantment, and kill their most powerful creature at the same time. And I do have a Titanic Brawl as well if they just play a creature with like a really good ability. A Planeswalker is going to be a big issue. I don't have a way to push into that when they've got multiple little chump blockers on the field. So Basri is definitely a big issue this game. +1/+1 counter and indestructible as the +1 ability. So Knight of Autumn gets to attack in and I can't even trade with it, so we're definitely not blocking. It would just be chump blocking, which would be very bad right now. Squire's Devotion on the Incubation Druid. Make it a 1/3 lifelinker and spit out another token. Well, flyers would be my best way to get Basri, so kind of like playing Drana. Falconwrath Noble's okay too, it's also a flyer that I can put on this board. I think I want to play Drana first though, because Drana can start getting +1/+1 counters on stuff. Either way I go, I don't really... Well... I think if I go with Drana, I can play Crawl Harpooner as well. I'm not holding up Titanic Brawl there, which might not be the safest, but I don't think I'm brawling any of their creatures. Ooh, the Incubation Druid has adapted. And it's got Indestructible. Honestly, forgot about the adaptability on Incubation Druid. If I remembered that, I probably wouldn't have played Drana, just play Harpooner and Brawl the Druid before it can adapt. That would have been pretty important. It's got 7 toughness, and it's indestructible, so it just doesn't matter. Here we take 5. Yeah, that's really bad. Definitely should have brawled that Incubation Druid with Crawl Harpooner. But then I don't get to play a flyer that turn either, so Bosri is just going to keep going off. We're in a really, really bad position. Either way we'd played here, especially with a Conclave Tribunal to follow up too. This is incredibly, incredibly rough. I can Gem Razor to kill Conclave Tribunal, but I don't get to hit Bosri. Well, wait, no. All their creatures are tapped. Because they convoked the Conclave Tribunal, so I guess I could just get to kill Bosri. Bosri's dead, but I'm at 10 life, so I need to play enough blockers to survive after that. I've got Titanic Brawl with Gem Razor Titanic Brawl. Gem Razor would be a 6/6. If I kill Squire's Devotion, I get to kill Incubation Druid, but I want to kill Conclave Tribunal. Let's Gem Raise onto the Hydra. Kill Conclave Tribunal. Means we have Drana back. Kill Bosri. And I have Titanic Brawl at instant speed. It unfortunately can't kill the Incubation Druid, but with Drana's First Strike, if I block Incubation Druid with a First Striker and then fight it with Gem Razor, I can kill it. They'll be gaining 5 life from the lifelink, but I won't lose Gem Razor and I won't lose Drana. So that's fine. So I've got a really good defensive plays to any attacks they have here. This does blow up in my face if they have removal for Gem Razor or Drana. I guess for that reason I should have Titanic Brawled when they attacked before I declared blockers. That way if they had an instant speed removal spell, they couldn't just use it on Gem Razor and kill both Gem Razor and Drana. Because if I fought beforehand, if they use the removal spell, then I'm just not going to block with Drana. And if I fight during combat like I did there, if they have the removal spell, they use it on Gem Razor, their Incubation Druid no longer takes any damage, so it just kills Drana. So that was a bad timing on the Titanic Brawl on my part. But now I have a Falconwrath Noble coming up. I have 6 mana, so I can't play both of these. Or can I? Castle Garenbrig. I can. Castle Garenbrig, spicing things up. So I'm at 10 life. I would love to put some counters on some stuff, but I think I just put a counter on Drana. Definitely not attacking with Crawl Harpooner. Loxodon just blocks that and kills it. But my 6/6 is my best blocker by far. I don't think I can send that in right now. Just Drana it is. But hopefully Imperious Perfect, spitting out an elf every turn, can get me to a position where I get to start attacking with like both my flyers every turn. So we can maybe start putting a decent clock on them, but they have a lot of life right now. So they scried something to the top and then just chilled. That's got me really scared. I think I'm going to attack with both my flyers. Because I have drawn another blocker. Calyx to exile something? Why didn't they play that last turn? I'm wondering. I guess because they know it just dies to one of my flyers. So yeah, they just get to draw a card off Calyx, and then I kill it with the flyers, so... I guess they were hoping to draw, like, defenses or something. They pick up the Sigil of the Empty Throne. Terrifying card. Every time they cast an enchantment spell after this one, they create a 4/4 4/4 flying angel. I should not be playing my lands at this point because I have a important landfall card in this deck.
You dare defy the gods?
I was just over this last game, but it's one of those things that's really hard to stop doing because it's so just ingrained in you. It's like you just draw a land, play a land. Just play land for turn, go. So yeah, as much as I don't like damaging my opponent there, we really need to shut Calyx off before they play the Sigil, because if they play the Sigil with Calyx on the board, they're pretty much guaranteed to draw an enchantment every turn off of the +1. And just keep getting 4/4 angels, and then my flyers are never attacking again at that rate. We're definitely going to get to a point pretty quickly here where I'm starting to just send in with these elves. And just get like the Falconwrath Noble ability there. Oh yeah, we're keeping Mantle of the Wolf, are you kidding? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm probably at the point I should start sending in with like Gemrazor as well. Sure, I won't have like the biggest, bestest blocker ever anymore, but I've got so many 2/2s to just chump block and drain life. And yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. Super solid stuff from Drana there. Imperious Perfect as well, doing a lot of work, spitting out a ton of blockers. It's really nice. So we're at 6 wins and 1 loss. One more win to go to hit a nice, hefty 7-win run. As good as it can go. I guess we could have gone 7-0, but I'm not that good. I'm always going to get at least 1 loss in these. You got to expect that. The vast majority of the time. All right, final boss, question mark? If we win this game, it's the last game. This hand is fine. I could play the Black Bloom Rogue as the Black Bloom Bog, and then I can Foreboding Fruit with Adamant. I do not think that is worth it, though. Ooh, Fauna Shaman makes this hand beautiful, because Fauna Shaman just is beautiful. Just freaking fantastic card. All around. Absolute bonkers. Well, that's about to be expected. Now we're taking 3 a turn from a Destiny Spinner. It's coming for us. Do I want to play a Foreboding Fruit or a Black Bloom Rogue? Kind of want to just draw 2 here. I'm taking a lot of damage if I do that. I go to 15, take 3 more, go to 12. I don't love that, but the 2/3 isn't going to block their 3/4 anyway. Not bad draws. Now we have 5 mana, so we know for sure we don't have to play the Black Bloom Bog. Ephemia the Cacophony. Drawn to Erebos. So I guess I Voracious Hydra to kill Ephemia. Could also Witch's Vengeance. Kind of prefer dropping out the Hydra. Next turn I Lich's Crest on Destiny Spinner. The Eldest Reborn. Well, goodbye, Voracious Hydra. At least they're not returning anything good with that. They're just going to bring back Ephemia. Actually, no. Bringing back Ephemia with the Eldest Reborn is actually insane, now that I think of it. because they bring it back with the Eldest Reborn, and then at their end step, they exile the Eldest Reborn from their graveyard and create a 2/2 zombie. And if I kill Destiny Spinner, that's 2 more enchantments in their grave, so they get a zombie like 3 turns in a row. Oh, that's actually insane. I think I still have to just Lich's Caress the Destiny Spinner, and then we can Titanic Brawl Euphemia and Witch's Vengeance all her zombie friends. I don't love this at all. I have to discard a card here, probably just discarding the Rogue. I do need to have a creature out to be able to Titanic Brawl, and Imperious Perfect can't brawl with Euphemia and win, because she's only got 2 toughness. Maybe I'm discarding Erebos again, just because I'm not going to have many creatures here dying. I guess I'll have Elf Warriors, but I won't have Elf Warriors if I'm discarding Perfect instead. Gravebreaker Lamia. Uh-oh. I probably just lose. They just search for a big old reanimation target for the Eldest Reborn now. Instead of Euphemia. Grab like a Lord of Extinction or something. They choose on Burial Rites. Okay, so they are just going to bring back Euphemia. That being said, a 4/4 lifelink is bigger than anything that I was planning on getting rid of right now, so that's a thing. So I'm going to play Black Bloom Rogue and pass the turn because I can kill Euphemia before she makes a zombie if I fight her at instant speed before their end step. Unfortunately, our opponent is pretty far from 8 or more cards in grave. They choose Erebos. Why? They have 3 Devotion to Black right now. They need 2 more Devotion to Black to trigger that. That's really... I guess they have Unburial Rites for their own cards, so now they just Unburial Rites Euphemia instead. That makes sense. And now they draw a card when I kill Euphemia because of Erebos' ability. Definitely not blocking there. We are certainly in a world of hurt this game. Nessian Wanderer. Okay. What is your 1 card in hand if you're not Unburial Rightsing Euphemia right now? I'm so confused. Yeah, they've got 3 enchantments in their grave, and they're not Unburial Rightsing Euphemia. I have absolutely no idea. Alright, well, I guess we play Perfect and still just hold up Titanic Brawl. I might have to double block Gravebreaker Lamia though, and I don't love that. I actually quite hate that. Nyx Herald, okay. I can no longer double block Gravebreaker Lamia. We are gonna die to a 4/4 lifelink. 100% just gonna happen here. Has my opponent not, like, read I'm really confused why Euphemia is just chilling in the grave. So, they have 5 cards in their graveyard. They're still 3 away from Black Bloom Rogue being a 4/3. But I think I'd rather Vastwood Fortification the Black Bloom Rogue than the Perfect anyway, because Perfect is going to be getting tapped all the time. And if I can Vastwood Fortification on Black Bloom Rogue, if they ever end up with 8 cards in their grave, then Black Bloom Rogue will be a 5... Oh, it is a 5/3 off of its ability. Well, 3/4 is still fine here. Chainweb, Arachneer, Witch's Vengeance. Are these the same type? Satyr Scout and Centaur Shaman. Well, they are not. I guess I kill the Centaur Shaman? So I need to choose Centaur. We've got 2 green up here, so I have enough to spit out a token with Imperious Perfect. And Titanic Brawl at instant speed as well. Unfortunately, with my Erebos on their board, they are drawing cards whenever their creatures die. I could play a Chainweb Arachnir too. That does come back as a 4/5, so that comes out. It's going to chump block here. And then I'll have a 4/5 blocker for the Lamia. Sure, let's play that. Now we are really hoping that they don't play Ephemia this turn. It would be really, really weird if they didn't play Ephemia any other turn and then they decide to do it now. Alright, Acolyte of Affliction. Pick up the Nyx Herald. Okay, cool. Not playing Ephemia means I don't have to hold up Titanic Brawl. I could actually brawl Lamia to death. I guess not now that they have the Herald out. I mean, I still could, but I'd have to 2-for-1 myself to do that. I think we're just chumping with a token. Or with the Chainweb Arachnir at this point. Because we're wanting to bring that back. Oh, they don't even attack. They don't even attack because they know the power that lies within Chainweb Arachnir. What am I doing now, then? Mantle of the Wolf is a cool draw, but I don't know what to put it on. You just throw it on an Elf Warrior and start going ham? What happens if I send in a 6/6 against their field? They block with a 4/4 and a 2/3? That seems generally pretty bad. I just get to kill the Lamia, and then I spit out 2 wolves. That is generally unexciting. I guess I could just hold on to it. I mean, at this point, they're just already not attacking in because they don't want to hit the Arachnir. Heliod's Pilgrim. Uh-oh. Pacifism for my Chainweb Arachnir? That would be a sad day for the Spider Friend. And, oh my god. Ancestral Mask to, make something a million. Really sucks not having the removal for Ephemia, but it's not looking like they're ever going to do that, so I guess I'm killing Acolyte of Affliction. So that I get to kill their Ancestral Mask. Ooh, the Rogue, it made it. There's 8 cards in their grave. It's a 6/4 now. It did the thing. Kendra's Transformation on Imperious Perfect. Alright, well, let's get another 1/1. Unfortunately, they are 1/1s now because they're not getting +1/+1 anymore. Opponent is really going off with the value. Maybe we're just trying to mill them out now. They've got 14 cards left. That would take quite a while. Drana. Sure. They have no reach right now, so Drana with Mantle of the Wolf might be pretty good. But they've still got Unburial Rights, and now that I've played a flyer, they might actually pick up Ephemia because they need a flying blocker. What? Get out of here. Get your Crawl Harpooner out of here. Don't you fight my Drana. That's evil. That is just rude in so many ways. Well, I couldn't have cast Drana and Mantle of the Wolf anyway. I could ramp up with Garenbrig, but that's only for creature mana. It doesn't work on auras. So there was no way to cast Drana and Mantle of the Wolf in that one turn. Even if it were any kind of mana, it requires 4 to do that, so I'd have to tap down all but 1 black mana, and then I wouldn't have double black for Drana either. Ooh, Blood Artist is pretty good here. Because I'm at a very low life total and I'm very scared. I don't know, I don't feel like I'm ever getting close to winning this game. Now they've got a Beanstalk Giant coming up as well that's going to be just massive. I guess they just sacrificed something to kill my Blood Artist. Sad. At least I go to 5. Maybe I should have just Mantle of the Wolf on Black Bloom Rogue there at this point. Whatever. Shields down. Let's fight. My final attack I could have got in. I can't do it now because they have a 12-12 out, so that just blocks Black Bloom Rogue. Sure, it's got Menace, but they block with their 1-3 and their 12-12 and kill it. I forgot I have this card. He thick. That's for sure. I could throw a Mantle of the Wolf on that too, but I don't... Does that even do anything, really? It's not at this point. It's a 2020. Yeah, I think Mantle of the Wolf on Black Bloom Rogue and sending in last turn would have been good. Unburial Rites on Destiny Spinner. My opponent is really just sleeping on Ephemia. Yeah, whatever, this card sucks. This text means nothing. I guess Ephemia's not insane here, because I've got a lot of blockers, but... I mean, how much do they have to return their stuff from the grave? Because without, there's 1, 2, 3... That's 3 2/2 zombies. Oh, I suppose Destiny Spinner is starting to make really big land attackers. Well. Wait, how do all their creatures have trample? Oh, that gave that trample. I guess the lands just have trample naturally. That's weird. Okay, well, trample actually makes this real bad. Definitely gonna lose Chainweb Arachnir. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Kill all that stuff. If they have instant speed. Oh, they have Erebos, I guess. Didn't even use it anyway, so. Does not matter that I did not block particularly well. Definitely should have taken Erebos into account there. But luckily, my opponent did not either, because they really wanted to play a Setessan champion here. Vraska's Contempt. Exile a creature, planeswalker, and gain 2. That costs 4 mana to do. They've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They can do it twice. They can technically do it 3 times, but they can't tap down all their lands because then they're not attacking. So they can only do it twice. And hold the untapped lands to be able to attack with them. So I guess... Also, I lowered the number of enchantments they have. Now they only have 3. So there are 3/3s. They have 5 cards in their deck. I really wish I had 8 mana here so I could play both of these things. Because I do not love not holding up Vraska's Contempt. But I want to keep Setessan Champion on their board so that they might mill themselves. I'm going to hold up Vraska's Contempt rather than Mantle of the Wolf. That might blow up in my face, but it might not. Oh dear. So now, when enchantments enter the battlefield, they're getting flyers as well. Flyers will just kill me. I guess I have Chainweb Arachnir, but... probably going to have to exile that if they play another enchantment. Buff up the Destiny Spinner, alright. And then just pass turn. I still don't like using Vraska's Contempt because I like holding it up and I can turn Chainweb Arachnir into a 4/5 reach against the Archon. They are going wide enough here that I will just die, though. I have to kill, like, one of their creatures. So they sacrifice this in response to kill my elf warrior. What? So I think they could have spent the 2, sacrificed that, kill my elf warrior, decline to draw a card, definitely. You've got 4 cards left. Just decline to draw. And then I have 2 creatures to block with. I block Destiny Spinner. I block there. I take 1, 2, and then however much damage from their lands. I think they can just go wide to kill me. But I don't know, maybe they had somewhere to be. Maybe they were just scared of my 25/25. Maybe they thought I had a way to give it trample or something. I don't know. That was a weird one. I don't think I should have won that game. I think my opponent had me on the ropes pretty much the whole time. But I guess they wanted to scoop them up there. So 7 wins and 1 loss. I'll take it. I'll take it with Golgari stuff. Didn't even get a rare. We got just gems, just duplicate rares. Oh, because they're both from Guilds of Ravnica, which I literally just drafted a million times. That's kind of funny. Anyways, very nice run overall. 7-1. Super solid stuff. Just a lot of solid, really nice cards there. A lot of that was showing off how cool Fauna Shaman was in this draft. And then just curving out with some 3-power creatures on turn 2 and turn 3 on the aggressive. That can just be enough. So, as always at the end of these videos, I would like to thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more, you're already at the right place. Just stick around. Like, comment, subscribe, any of that stuff you want to do. And I'll be back for more Magic Arena content tomorrow. Also, next week is the launch of Kaldheim, so you can expect plenty of that coming up. That will be the daily drafts for a while. You can check out my Twitch channel, link in the description below, for when I'm live, where I will be doing practice drafts of Kaldheim, so I get a little bit of a feel for the format before I do the YouTube stuff, and I can't speak, so you'll be hearing a lot of me stumbling on my words there, as I'm doing right now. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.